Welcome to Infowords. Today we're going to see the global impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We all remember late 2019, right? Things were chill, we were making plans for the new year. Word started trickling out of Wuhan, China about some weird new virus, but this COVID-19, had other plans. Fast forward a few months and boom! The World Health Organization hits the panic button, declaring a global pandemic. Borders slammed shut, flights got grounded, and the news was a non-stop loop of scary headlines. Remember those early days? The great toilet paper shortage of 2020. Schools shut down, sending kids home for what we thought would be a short break. Businesses closed, people started working from their kitchen tables, and Zoom calls became the new normal. But beneath the surface, a serious situation was unfolding. This wasn't just another flu season, this was a full-blown global health emergency. Now let's talk numbers, because this pandemic wasn't messing around. By early 2024, the statistics were grim. Millions infected worldwide. The death toll? Heartbreaking. Hospitals were pushed to their absolute limit. Doctors and nurses worked around the clock to save lives. But even with their dedication, the system was overwhelmed. Shortages of beds, ventilators, and PPE became a major concern. The pandemic exposed inequalities in access to healthcare. It affected people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. A stark reminder that we are all interconnected. With the pandemic raging, the world looked to science for a solution, and man, did the scientific community step up. Researchers worked day and night at a pace never seen before to develop a vaccine. It was like a scene out of a movie, a global race against time, with lives hanging in the balance. And then, boom! In record time, multiple vaccines were developed, tested, and approved. It was a testament to human ingenuity, collaboration, and the sheer determination to overcome this invisible enemy. But developing the vaccines was only half the battle. The next challenge? Getting those vaccines into the arms of billions of people worldwide. This is where things got a little complicated. The distribution of vaccines wasn't exactly a smooth operation. Rich countries with their deep pockets and resources were able to secure early doses, while poorer nations struggled to get their fair share. It was a stark reminder of the global vaccine inequality that exists. While the health impacts of the pandemic were impossible to ignore, the economic fallout was just as devastating. Governments around the world imposed lockdowns and restrictions to curb the spread of the virus, bringing economic activity to a screeching halt. Businesses shut down either temporarily or permanently, and millions of people found themselves out of work. The global economy went into a tailspin, experiencing the worst recession since the Great Depression. The stock market went on a roller coaster ride, unemployment rates skyrocketed, and the gap between the rich and the poor grew wider. It was a financial earthquake that shook the foundations of our globalized world. Industries like tourism, hospitality, and aviation were hit particularly hard, with travel restrictions and stay-at-home orders bringing international travel to a virtual standstill. Supply chains were disrupted, leading to shortages and price hikes. Governments stepped in with massive stimulus packages to try and cushion the blow, but the economic scars of the pandemic ran deep. The shift to remote learning. Remember the good old days of school, packing your backpack, gossiping with friends in the hallway, actually paying attention in class sometimes? Yeah, the pandemic threw all that out the window. With schools closed, education went virtual and remote learning became the new normal. Teachers had to adapt overnight, figuring out how to engage students through a computer screen. Parents juggled work responsibilities with homeschooling duties, often with mixed results. And kids, well, let's just say Zoom fatigue became a real thing. Don't get me wrong, remote learning had its moments. Like, remember when that kid's cat made a surprise appearance during a math lesson? Classic. But for many students, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds, remote learning presented significant challenges. Lack of access to reliable internet technology or a quiet study space exacerbated existing inequalities in education. The pandemic highlighted the digital divide and the urgent need to bridge the gap to ensure equal access to quality education for all. Let's see the new normal: remote work and its implications. Remember the days of commuting to work in rush hour traffic, battling for a decent parking spot and pretending to like your co-workers? Yeah, the pandemic kind of put a damper on that whole office life thing. With lockdowns in place, millions of people transitioned to working from home, turning their living rooms into makeshift offices. At first it was kind of novel, right? Wearing sweatpants to work, setting your own hours, having unlimited access to the snack drawer. But as the weeks turned into months, the novelty wore off. Zoom fatigue set in, the lines between work and home life blurred, and that whole work-life balance thing became a distant memory. But here's the thing, remote work is probably here to stay, at least in some capacity. The pandemic forced companies to embrace flexible work arrangements, and many employees found they preferred the autonomy and flexibility that came with it. Of course, remote work isn't without its challenges, but it's clear that the traditional office setup has been irrevocably shaken up. Next, we will see about a world on pause, travel, tourism, and international business impacted. Remember the days of jet-setting around the world, exploring new cultures, and racking up those frequent flyer miles? Yeah, the pandemic kind of put a stop to that whole globe-trotting thing. With borders closed, flights grounded, and travel restrictions in place, the world went into lockdown, and the tourism industry took a massive hit. From bustling cities to idyllic beaches, tourist destinations were eerily deserted. Hotels stood empty, restaurants closed their doors, and airlines struggled to stay afloat. The pandemic brought international travel to a virtual standstill, highlighting just how interconnected our world had become. But it wasn't just tourism that felt the impact. International business, supply chains, and global trade were all disrupted, leading to delays, shortages, and economic uncertainty. The pandemic forced businesses to rethink their operations, adapt to a new normal, and find innovative ways to connect with customers and clients in a world where physical presence was no longer a given. Let's look into the mental health toll: isolation, anxiety, and uncertainty. Let's be real, this pandemic took a toll on everyone's mental health. The constant fear, uncertainty, and isolation were enough to make even the most optimistic person feel a little anxious. Lockdowns and social distancing measures, while necessary to curb the spread of the virus, meant that many people were cut off from their usual support systems, leading to feelings of loneliness, isolation, and despair. The pandemic highlighted the importance of mental health and the need for accessible and affordable mental health services. It also forced us to confront the stigma surrounding mental health and to normalize conversations about anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges. Recovery, resilience, and the pandemic's legacy. As we emerge from the shadow of the pandemic, the world is grappling with its long-term consequences. The economic, social, and emotional scars run deep, and the road to recovery will be long and challenging. The pandemic has forced us to re-evaluate our priorities, to appreciate the simple things in life, and to recognize the importance of community and connection. The world has been forever changed, but the human spirit remains undimmed.